Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom left hand side, It's All For Her, our orange Protoss, and in the top right hand side we have BifroSt, who is I am Ragnarok. Ragnarok, I believe, is a Grandmasters player from, I used to know this, Norway or Eastern Europe or something like that. We're on Entombed Valley, and this is evidently from round 6 of the IPL finals. So that's pretty cool. That's really cool, actually. It's going to be some very high-level play. Protoss versus Zerg's always a fantastic matchup. Definitely worth sticking around for, I can assure you. However, it's fun. I like Protoss versus Zerg. I like anything Zerg, really, because I play Zerg. But it's always nice just to see exactly how it evolves, because on a map like this, in Toon Valley, where you have this kind of... It's difficult to wall off that wall in and of itself, but then you also have to choose, do you do like a pseudo wall off where you incorporate the Nexus? The Forge Fast Expand, it kind of forces you to approach it in a different direction, and it's nice to see that sort of metagame evolve, especially when you get up to this high level play. Ragnarok's proceeding along the non-cheese build from Zerg. He hasn't thrown out a pool or anything like that just yet, making motions like he's going to pretty soon. Pool first is definitely the very standard build, especially against Protoss. However, in Toon Valley is very large. It's just a huge map, especially if you ever want to find out how big a map is. Look at the Zelnalka Tower and see how much space it actually illuminates. Not much at all, and it's pretty small because of that. Pool first indeed from Ragnarok. I'm going to be tripping over that name the entire time, but it's a very traditional and defensive build. It's not as aggressive as throwing down the hatchery, and I say aggressive as in like the economic build. It's very safe. It's very safe. Ragnarok's drones coming down, just seeing It's All For Her. Has got his probe patrolling, but it's just going to be a devil. We're going to see another drone being pulled. Traditionally, I pull 2 drones just to deal with this harassment from the probe, but you can see how much mining time, how much minerals Ragnarok's actually floating right now. He's almost got 400, and he just desperately wants to throw down that Nexus. On the other side of things, that hatchery, on the other side of things, It's All For Her has already thrown down his Nexus, and has got the Forge already underway with the Gateway too. So finally succeeding, Ragnarok has thrown down his own hatchery, but he's very much behind. He probably lost 20, maybe 30 seconds trying to chase that probe away from the hatchery location, so Ragnarok's probably feeling a little bit flustered. No Nexus on the way just yet. Spawning Pool has finished the hatchery, working on that first queen. We're probably going to see a second queen being built from the primary hatchery, just because that first queen's probably going to be moving down south. It's All For Her, though, is going to be feeling very solid about the fact that he denied that hatchery for so long. Got that photon cannon coming up, probably going to see another large structure positioned right here, and then the choke's going to be maybe here, or maybe the large structure's here and the choke's over by the pylon. That's more likely, just because in case the Baneling Bless. This is the only in my opinion, appropriate way to deal with a hatchery being super delayed like that, is to throw it on the third very early on. This can do a couple of things, but primarily it catches you up in the economic game very quickly. Cybernetics core is being added on to complete that wall off. It is a very small choke right here, but that first Zealot, which is probably going to be produced as soon as It's All For Her gets enough money, because he's producing 2 probes at a time, is probably going to shore up that small gap. On the other side of things, the Overlords have eventually floated their bloated corpses over to the all sides of It's All For Her's base. Is going to be suiciding in there relatively soon, just to see exactly what he's dealing with, any hidden tech, any hidden weird pylon placement. We know that there's just double gas right now. No gas being grabbed at the natural expansion just yet. No gas at all for Ragnarok at all. So heavy droning right now, 27 over 32, but that's just because that third hasn't even popped yet. So once we see that third pop up, we're going to see the drone production ramp, especially now that the first queen is out and is beginning to spend her energy as the with the larva inject. We actually saw that second queen already popped out at the primary, threw down a creep tumor, and is now moving off to the third, so that poor queen is hoofing it. You rarely see a queen off creep, but this is such a long walk, which should show you that, you know, those thirds are really exposed whenever they don't take down those destructible debris. Look how long it takes for that queen to move over there. Non-speed Zerglings, it takes him a while too. 6 drones on the production tab though, and he's finally getting gas. Getting the gas at the natural expansion first, which is actually a very clever play, because if you're going to send in a observer, traditionally you'll send it into the natural first, see that gas timing, see that, you know, there's 2 gas there, so you can naturally assume that the main has already grabbed its 2 gas, miscounting the gas. So 4 gas total, it can lead you down a different tech path. All we see now is 2 gas. That's probably just to get that speed up, maybe get onto lair tech, begin to build up onto something else. We see 4 gateways being added on total for ItsAllForHer's main force, but there goes that suicide overlord. It's going to be pushing in, seeing the 2 gateways being produced, not seeing these over here, but this is probably going to get exposed next time a Zergling pokes at the front door. On the other side of things, this Overlord has survived for an incredibly long time because the Stalker has just now popped out and is going to be moving forward as far north as possible. Hopefully it's going to just barely tag the side of that Vespene Geyser, and he does. Sees exactly what sort of gas timing to expect. The Zerglings have, are beginning to swell out on the field. Are we going to see a Baneling bust or anything like that? I'm not 100% sure. We do see a Roach Warren being added on, as well as speed and a Spine. Is that Spine over by the 3rd because it's so exposed? It is. Good play there. Good play there. Twilight Council being added on too, which is something to be expected because we have 5 gateways out on the field right now. So many Stalkers. I wonder what's going to be researched at that Twilight Council as soon as he's got enough money for Blink. The Stalkers are beginning to work on that 3rd. Blink is a fantastic choice on this map just because of that high mobility. I just casted another game where Blink absolutely kept the Protoss in a very precarious situation alive for much longer than he deserved to be. Evolution Chamber also being added on for Ragnarok, and he's beginning to cap off his other 2 gas geysers, and is holding off completely on getting anything at his main. I wonder why he's doing that. I mean, obviously the misreading, that's cool, but if you want 6 gas, traditionally you wouldn't take it at the 3rd because this is what you're going to lose before you lose your main. I guess he's just not intending on losing any bases, which is probably a good policy to have. Speed is now done. Those Zerglings are going to be incredibly pesky, even for Blink Stalkers. The 3rd has been taken by ItsAllForHer, but he hasn't started to saturate it just yet. He's probably a little bit behind on the economy, 62 over 48, to be expected against a Zerg that took 3 bases pretty much unaccosted at all. The Roaches are going to be having a very hard time against these Blink Stalkers. In fact, I don't expect ItsAllForHer to have a hard time at all in holding out this pressure until the Speed Zerglings arrive. And now we can see that the Speed Zerglings are going to be added into the mix. We've got 3 more Roaches on the way, Glial Reconstitution as well as +1 speed, and the Infestor Pit, which is what I expect to do the majority of the damage. I think Ragnarok's going to play it kind of coy until he is forced to push into that 3rd. He knows that 3rd's just now being taken because he saw that that gateway was being constructed, and he knows that the number of Roaches he currently has on the field is not enough to break down that door with those Stalkers. He's going to have to assume that there's something else waiting in the wings, probably an Immortal or 2. The Blink Stalker would very much surprise me if I was in his position. +2 on the way, as well as +2 armor for ItsAllForHer, so his force is going to be incredibly intimidating, especially with that first Immortal being added into the mix, as well as another one on the production tab. The Zerglings are going to be poking at the front door as right as that gateway finishes, but seeing the 2 photon cannons as well as the Stalker and Sentry composition there, it's very precarious because Ragnarok really doesn't want to push forward, take a massive hit, and then be forced to come back and desperately defend his own 3rd. Right now these Roaches are very intimidating, and if ItsAllForHer wanted to move out, he'd be pretty hard pressed to survive that long walk up to the Zerg base. On the other side of thing, Ragnarok's taking his 4th. Also tapped off 2 gas as well as the 2 gas back at home. Throwing down that Spire is going to be rushing directly into Broodlords, just all hell bent. These Roaches and these Zerglings are just to keep Protoss in check, and I think the Protoss is going to be very much in check, but there's not much you can do to deny that 3rd now, which is really what Ragnarok wanted to do. Spire and Hive are both on the way, as well as the Pathogen Glance and +1 melee, which is an interesting choice because we saw him get that +1 range already. +1 armor also definitely worthwhile, always worthwhile to grab, and beginning to tap on a couple more spines just to defend against the inevitable drop play that Warp Prisms could be on the field shortly. The Warp Prisms definitely fit nicely in with the research that ItsAllForHer has already taken. Blink Stalker with a Warp Prism in tow can provide some excellent high ground coverage and can really be intimidating. The creep spread is beginning to get just edge across the screen, but man, it's going to be absolutely forever before it actually gets there. 10 more spines on the way, and that's because the economy is absolutely up into high gear. 92 over 66 right now. Neither player has taken any blows to the economy. However, ItsAllForHer has been forced to kind of invest a little bit heavier into dealing with aggression from Ragnarok because he was feeling like Ragnarok was going to be doing a Baneling bust at his front. Once again, moving in with an Overseer just to see if there's any cheese, any weird unit producing structures or tech structures more likely. The Robotics Bay has now finished, probably immediately going to be starting on that range. No, the blink from the stalkers coming for you in a fantastic concave on all those roaches. Where did this number of stalkers come from? Oh my goodness, Ragnarok taking massive blows to his roaches, going to be forced to pull all the way back. The Observer providing an absolute clutch amount of detail to ItsAllForHer. He knew that he had a much more critical army, especially with those +2/+2 upgrades. On the other side of things, there are quite a lot of roaches, and Zerglings still out on the field. 7 Corruptors coming out, and that's more of a preemptive move, because he's going to know that those Colossus will be out shortly. However, he really just wants to get the Broodlords. He's got Greater Spire almost done. This is the perfect time for ItsAllForHer to push out, because he only has to deal with Zergling, roaches, and maybe a handful of Infestors, as well as all these spines. But really, if he waits too much longer, that Greater Spire is going to be done. Those Broodlords are going to begin to shell down. Blinkstalker, fantastic choice against Broodlords, but Broodlords in and of themselves are a very hard time for any Protoss player to deal with, especially if they don't have a very heavy ball already built up. Those Stalkers have to be very careful with them out in the open like this. Oh, but no, Ragnarok feeling frisky. He's moving off of his Zerglings down to the south side. Is going to be denying a 4th that's going to go up, but I don't know how cost effective he's going to be if he tries to take down these Warp Prisms, getting a nice surround on one of the Stalkers, poking at the front door. ItsAllForHer has chased down these Zerglings with his Stalkers, but this is exactly what Ragnarok needed. He's buying so much time. Greater Spire is done. 5 more Corruptors on the way, +2 being researched, but where are those Broodlords? He needs to get those Broodlords out right now. Stargate beginning to be constructed for ItsAllForHer, but ItsAllForHer pulled back. Rather than doing the heavy economic damage that he could, he pulled back trying to defend his own bases. Ultimately, is that a wise decision? I'm not 100% sure. A base race in this scenario is really up in the air, especially because of the amount of static defenses back at home that Ragnarok had already thrown up. He didn't take his Infestors. He's already got so many Broodlords out on the field now. This is going to be pretty precarious for ItsAllForHer. He's got a fleet beacon on the way. This is going to be an absolute fantastic choice. Motherships are always fun, let alone powerful. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know how cost effective it's going to be, just because there were so many Corruptors out on the field a short time ago. Have they all become Broodlords? Wow, they have. 11, 12 Broodlords with 1 more on the way. No Corruptors to speak of on the production tab. There's really no anti-air at all, which is very interesting. We did see the fleet beacons up. We don't see anything being produced out of those Stargates just yet, but the extended thermal lances are on the way, and the first Colossus is out with a second one in tow. Is this a Warp Prism? It is. Fantastic play by here. ItsAllForHer from ItsAllForHer. He's going to be dealing just a little bit of economic damage, just throwing down quite a lot of Zealots, maybe some Stalkers. Stalkers would probably be the more cost-effective choice if he can spend the APM on it. However, here comes Ragnarok's not going to giving ItsAllForHer the opportunity, and really there's no opportunity for ItsAllForHer because he needs to free up some supply. There goes the blink forward from all those Stalkers, just crushing those Broodlords. But these Broodlords are excellently protected above the high ground, and a couple of them on the wings are being shot down, but more than a handful are surviving much longer than they should be. The fungal growths are going down on top of those Stalkers just time and time again. 184 over 156. ItsAllForHer quickly resupplying. We can see 13 more Corruptors are on the way, but all of these Broodlords are going to fall. Fantastic loss for Ragnarok, while ItsAllForHer is definitely pulling ahead on that. 192 over 140. He's going to be feeling like he's got a lead, and he absolutely does. 70 more Zerglings on the way. 50 over, wow, look at that resources lost tab. I can't even tell you how many resources that is, but it's a lot. There's lots of digits on that. A lot of Stalkers moving off to the top left side. This is exactly where he needs to attack. The Warp Prism changing into a pylon mode. Maybe he's going to bring down a couple of... Oh, Dark Templars. There's no detection here. When did he get that Dark Shrine? Oh no, the DT is absolutely chewing apart those roaches. Overseer Cocoon being constructed immediately thereafter, but it's a little bit too late, especially as this base gets absolutely demolished. That 5th goes down. However, the 4th from Ragnarok is suffering a very, very aggressive counterattack. This Nexus is going to get chewed apart by all of those Zerglings. It looks like a misclick there. One of the Colossus gets instantly chewed apart, but 3 more Dark Templars are on the way, and these Dark Templars are going to be doing quite a lot of damage. Overseers are being defensively positioned over by the 4th, but right now it looks like that 4th is completely fallen, and now the Zerglings have made their way into the 3rd. Ragnarok just doing a fantastic amount of economic damage, 60 over 76. Oh man, so much economic damage. That 3rd is going to also fall. There's just too many Zerglings, even with the amount of DTs in the base, chewing apart all those Zerglings. That Nexus does indeed fall. The Dark Shrine's actually right there too, but I don't think there's enough Zerglings for that just yet. The Stalkers and the Colossi have aggressively positioned themselves right by the Xel'Naga Watchtower, and it looks like one of them is going to town on its spines. But look at this flight of the Concords. So many Broodlords. They're going to be shelling down this, but they're very, very exposed right now. He's going to have to use that wall of crawl just to keep those Broodlords alive. It looks like the Blink Stalkers are going to lead the charge for the retreat right now, with just a couple of those Broodlords nipping at their heels, just trying to get a little bit better of an engagement. And these Broodlords have to be very careful, because without those spines to protect them, they're going to have to rely on Infestors, and we only have 2 right now. Oh my goodness, wow, a lot of Banelings being mixed in, but I don't know how cost effective that's going to be, because the AoE damage from the Colossus, so there's only 1 Colossus, so that's not going to be bad at all. Especially if this turns into kind of a Bane Rain. Oh, but these Broodlords, once again, being very ballsy, pushing forward. This is exactly where we saw the last engagement. Will this go the same way? Those Zealots and are going to be chewing apart those Zerglings. If they can just get to the front of the match. There comes the Banelings. Oh, the Infestors, fungal growthing down on all those Stalkers, doing so just a massive amount of damage. All of the Colossus have fallen. Ragnarok just pulling a win out of nowhere, just doing so much damage. There goes the Blink, but the Blink Stalker count has been absolutely devastated, and Ragnarok's just doing so much damage to those Colossus. It looks like he's going to chew them up completely. A couple of Archons are added into the mix, adding in a couple more damage per seconds, but it looks like every single one of those Stalkers are going to fall, and then with them the Archons, and with them Ragnarok is just sealing his victory. He's going to be pushing down once again, taking out this 4th. It's all for her, tapping out. Good game. Wow, what a fantastic play. Getting those Banelings out there, using the fungal growths to hold them in position, and just chewing apart all of those Stalkers, making it so they couldn't blink underneath the Broodlords, even though they were very exposed. Look at how many Broodlords survived. Look at how cost-effective that last fight was. We saw that Resources Lost tab was massively in the favor of It's All For Her, but with those Banelings just crushing that huge, heavy Bio Ball, making it so that the AoE from the Colossus was negated because there was just too much concentrated fire, that the Colossus count never got to the critical mass. Ragnarok absolutely playing this like a hero. Fantastic play. Oh my goodness. That is great. You guys are great. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.